Europe in the early 20th century was a continent of contrasts. It was a place of technological progress and industrial growth, yet it was also a land of political tension and military build-up. The great powers of Europe were engaged in a delicate dance of diplomacy and rivalry. Nations were bound by treaties while also preparing for potential conflicts. These included the British Empire, the French Republic, the German Empire, the Austro-Hungarian Empire, and the Russian Empire. Each had its interests and ambitions. These ambitions often clashed, leading to a complex web of alliances and enmities. The idea was to prevent any one nation from becoming too powerful, but in reality, they made the situation more volatile. As we delve into the origins of World War I, it is crucial to understand this backdrop of alliances and tensions. The Triple Entente was an alliance between France, Russia, and Britain. It was formed in the early 20th century. This alliance was not created all at once. It developed gradually through a series of agreements and understandings. France and Russia were the first to come together. They signed the Franco-Russian alliance in 1894. This was a response to the growing power of Germany and its alliances. France and Russia promised to support each other in case of a German attack. Britain joined later, but their entry was significant. The Entente Cordiale of 1904 marked the beginning of Anglo-French cooperation. This was not a formal military alliance, but it improved relations significantly. The interconnectedness contributed to the outbreak of World War I. The Triple Alliance was another key player in pre-war Europe. It consisted of Germany, Austria-Hungary, and Italy. This alliance was more formal than the Triple Entente. It was a defensive pact that promised mutual support in case of an attack. Germany and Austria-Hungary were the core members. They had strong historical and cultural ties. The dual alliance between these two nations was signed in 1879. This was primarily aimed at countering Russia's influence in Eastern Europe. Italy joined in 1882, completing the Triple Alliance. The existence of two such powerful blocs made diplomatic solutions more difficult. This rigid alliance system contributed to the escalation of tensions leading up to World War I. The early 20th century saw significant rivalries between major European powers. One of the most notable was between Germany and Britain. Germany's rapid industrialization and naval expansion worried Britain. The British saw their own global dominance under threat. France and Germany had their own set of conflicts. The memory of the Franco-Prussian War of 1870–71 was still fresh. France had lost the regions of Alsace and Lorraine to Germany. This loss was a deep wound, and France wanted revenge. Russia and Austria-Hungary were also at odds. Their rivalry centered on the Balkans. Both wanted to extend their influence in this region. These overlapping interests and ambitions made Europe a highly volatile region. The alliances formed were often a direct response to these rivalries, further complicating the situation. Section 5. The role of militarism and arms race. Militarism played a crucial role in the lead-up to World War I. European powers were engaged in a massive military build-up. This arms race created a sense of inevitable conflict. Nations believed that having a strong military would deter enemies and ensure security. Germany was particularly aggressive in its military expansion. The German Empire invested heavily in its navy and army. This was seen as a direct challenge to British naval supremacy. Britain responded by building more ships and strengthening its own navy. This naval race created significant tension between the two nations. France and Russia also increased their military spending. They modernized their armies and developed new strategies. The arms race was not limited to naval forces. The belief that war was inevitable led to a focus on military preparedness, which in turn made war more likely. Section 6. Economic and colonial competition. Economic and colonial competition was another significant factor in pre-war tensions. European powers were competing for global influence and resources. This competition often led to conflicts in distant parts of the world which had repercussions in Europe. The British Empire was the largest and most powerful, with colonies around the globe. France also had a vast colonial empire. Germany, a relatively new nation, wanted its share of colonies. This led to conflicts, particularly in Africa and Asia. One notable example was the Moroccan crises. Germany challenged French influence in Morocco in 1905 and again in 1911. These crises brought Europe to the brink of war. Economic rivalry added another layer of tension in an already strained Europe. Section 7. Nationalism and internal pressures. Nationalism was a powerful force in early 20th century Europe. It was the belief that each nation should have its own state. This idea was particularly strong in multi-ethnic empires like Austria-Hungary and the Ottoman Empire. Nationalist movements sought independence, often violently. In Austria-Hungary, various ethnic groups wanted autonomy. Slavs, Hungarians, and others sought greater self-determination. This created internal instability and put pressure on the government. Nationalism also fueled rivalry with neighboring Serbia, which supported Slavic nationalism. The desire for national identity and independence was a powerful motivator, contributing to the overall instability in Europe. Nationalism was not confined to Europe. Section 8. The Balkans, a powder keg. The Balkans were known as the powder keg of Europe. This region was highly volatile and a hotspot for conflict. The decline of the Ottoman Empire left a power vacuum. Various nations sought to fill this void, leading to a complex web of alliances and rivalries. Serbia was a key player in the Balkans. It saw itself as the leader of Slavic nationalism. This put it in direct conflict with Austria-Hungary, which ruled over many Slavic peoples. The Balkan Wars of 1912 to 1913 further destabilized the region. The assassination of Archduke Franz Ferdinand in Sarajevo in 1914 was the spark that ignited this powder keg. The events in this region were a direct precursor to the outbreak of World War I. Section 9. The assassination of Archduke Franz Ferdinand. The assassination of Archduke Franz Ferdinand was a pivotal event. It took place on June 28, 1914, in Sarajevo, Bosnia. The assassin was Gavrilo Princip, a member of a Serbian nationalist group. This event set off a chain reaction that led to World War I. Franz Ferdinand was the heir to the Austro-Hungarian throne. His assassination was seen as a direct attack on the empire. Austria-Hungary blamed Serbia for the attack. They saw it as part of a larger plot to undermine their authority in the Balkans. Austria-Hungary issued an ultimatum to Serbia. The demands were harsh and compliance was unlikely. What started as a regional conflict quickly escalated into a full-scale war. Section 10. The immediate aftermath and mobilization. The aftermath of the assassination was swift and chaotic. Austria-Hungary's declaration of war on Serbia set off a domino effect. Russia began to mobilize its forces, preparing to defend Serbia. This mobilization was seen as a threat by Germany. Germany issued ultimatums to Russia and France, demanding they halt their mobilizations. When these were ignored, Germany declared war on Russia on August 1, 1914, and on France 2 days later. Germany's war plan involved invading France through Belgium. This brought Britain into the war, as Belgium's neutrality was guaranteed by treaty. The mobilization was rapid and widespread. The initial battles were intense and set the stage for a long and brutal conflict. The world had plunged into a war that would last for 4 years and reshape the globe. Section 11. Conclusion. From alliances to war. The origins of World War I are complex and multifaceted. The alliance system created a web of obligations that drew multiple nations into conflict. The Triple Entente and Triple Alliance were meant to provide security, but ended up escalating tensions. Rivalries and conflicts, both in Europe and in distant colonies, added to the instability. Nationalism, militarism, and economic competition further strained relations. The Balkans, with its volatile mix of ethnic tensions and nationalist aspirations, acted as a catalyst. The assassination of Archduke Franz Ferdinand was the spark that ignited the war. The rapid mobilization and rigid alliances turned a regional incident into a global conflict. The origins of World War I remind us of the fragile nature of peace and the complexity of global politics.